morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Hemi and welcome to Careers in the Cloud, episode 13, 14, 15. I don't know where we are right now. I'm joined by my gracious host, Nick. You may have heard of her. She's been doing a lot in the EMEA, SFI, Salesforce world. You probably have reached out to her at some point. But Nick, do you know what? Today's a special one. I've been waiting for this. I think the people have requested it. Given everything that we've been doing in SFI, it is genuinely a pleasure to be joined by these two. I know they're super busy. They're in parts of the world where they're always closing some deals and delivering massive, massive projects. If you've not heard of them, today you'll definitely hear about them. It's my pleasure to welcome to Careers in the Cloud, episode 13, Pedro, Jose, and Jurgen Reinhardt. Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Hope you're both good. Hope you're both good. Thank you for joining. I know you're super busy. Look, we've been requesting this for a while. We've been wanting to sit down with you both. We followed you for a long, long time. People in the SFI world definitely will be familiar with you two, depending on where they are in the world. So today's going to be about inspiring people, but just hearing your journeys. So for those that don't know, and maybe have never even heard of FSI, and if you haven't, I don't know what you've been doing in the world. Can you give us a brief intro into your world, who you are, and anything that you want to tell us and the people watching? Jurgen, starting with yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here in your Careers in the Cloud. My name is Jurgen. I'm the AVP for Comms and Media and Technologies at Salesforce Industries, and I'm leading one of the most successful sales teams in EMEA. And of course, supported by Pedro's team, who are the rock stars in pre-sales for the industry. So I started my career in '89 at Digital Equipment, and my focus on comms and media started in '96 at Oracle, when we focused on comms and media. And since I'm working pretty much all the time in the industry at companies like Vitria, Amdocs, Netcracker, before I started with Vlocity. I oversaw some major transformation programs within the industry, and I'm used to serve as an executive sponsor for major engagement and escalation contact to guide those complex engagements towards success.
Amazing. Thanks for that, Jurgen. Last but no means least, Pedro.
Hey, thank you very much for hosting me here as well. So my name is Pedro. I lead pre-sales, same region as Jurgen. So we're pretty much buddies in arms, right? So we work very closely. Who am I? So been doing telco all my life. I actually started on the network side, network optimization. Started on all 2G and then 3G. When 3G started, I was on network, and then I went gradually more into software. So started with provisioning, mediation. I went to OSS, and then right now BSS, CRM. I'm at the top of the ladder, I usually say, and super happy. But it's interesting because I do have the knowledge of the network and associated with the software OSS, BSS. I feel it's very valuable, right? And especially because I speak the same language as our customers. But this is me, 20 years, been doing my job, super happy, love to be here. Thank you very much.
Amazing, man. Amazing. You're both so modest, right? And I know when Nick's been in the ecosystem coming up to a year now, and I think as soon as she got into Salesforce, Pedro and Jurgen were names that definitely she heard of straight away. Nick, for you, I mean, you were getting a lot of requests from other people watching, and, you know, given what you're doing in SFI right now and all the stuff that we've done globally, give us some of the hottest questions that you were getting, because I know there was a lot.
There definitely was, and thanks again, guys, for being here with us. For those who are watching and are maybe not familiar with Vlocity CPQ, can you give us a brief summary, just again for those who perhaps didn't come across it?
It actually all started with Vlocity CPQ, right? So it was the first and the main solution that started with Vlocity several years ago. But it has actually evolved more than just a CPQ, okay? It's a complete solution for telcos in terms of PSS, from CRM, Salesforce automation, CPQ, CLM, contract lifecycle management, order management as well. So it is a complete solution nowadays. What is this? at the end of the day, it's the industry-specific solution on top of Salesforce for communications and media and other industries, but our focus is comms and media. This is where we bring our expertise to the CRM space, okay? Especially the data model. Imagine, giving the example for the ones who know Salesforce. Salesforce, we add a lot of objects to the Salesforce data model, okay? Why? To bring that expertise, to understand the telco industry, okay? And then all the business processes, easy to do, complete solution. Well, that's it. Which was Vlocity CPQ, nowadays Salesforce Industries.
And for those that don't know, before Jurgen comes in, Vlocity CPQ, Vlocity, the company, was acquired by the mothership Salesforce for, I believe, 1.3 billion. I think the deal maybe could have gone a bit more, but they settled at 1.3. But again, for a company that came into the market quite fresh over the last 10 years, a little bit less, to where they are now, it's an amazing result. Jurgen, anything you want to add to that from more of a delivery and over strategic view, high level view?
Yeah, so look, when Vlocity started, there has been other CPQs in the market who have been dominating the market. But when I talked to David Schmeier in my first conversations, he's a visionary, right? So he drew me the picture on where he sees Vlocity in the future and the BSS market in the cloud, right? And CPQ is only one piece of the puzzle. Yeah, it is like Pedro described, an end-to-end industry solution. Yeah, which goes very deeply into the core processes of our customers. So, and that is the compelling story about Vlocity, because when I heard that, I thought this will be the future, and yes, I was right with that.
Definitely were right. I mean, the one thing I was going to touch on is that. So you guys were still doing really well in your careers. You had been in tech. Pedro, you mentioned how you've been on the networking side, which again, if you look at networking and Cisco and all that, it was huge, man. It was huge. I started my recruitment career in networking and working with network engineers, so I understand it. And the one thing I was going to ask both of you, and Jurgen, you touched on it, is how did it come about? So how did you get to that point where you were in that meeting or the interview, you were approached and you were discussing Vlocity CPQ at a time where Aptus and CloudSense, these products were dominating the market. They were everywhere. When I came into recruitment, it's all I heard about. So starting with you, Jurgen, talk us through that journey and how you got to the point, and then the point of working for the mothership.
Yeah, actually, that has been a funny story. I had lunch with an old friend of mine, Markus Schmelzer, who was working for Siebel in the past, and he said David Schmeier reached out to him and is looking for a sales leader in EMEA. So Markus is running his own company, but he told him, I know someone who has the right skills for you, right? So he sent my CV over on a Friday evening, and on a Monday morning, the SVP of EMEA called me up to start a conversation, right? At that time, I had only little knowledge about Vlocity in some of my clients, but enough to start a conversation. Yeah, and when I talked to David, as I mentioned, he is a great visionary. I completely bought into that vision, right? And so I was so excited. I wanted to start as early as possible. I signed my contract in March 18, but my non-compete clause took me 9 months to get rid of, so I had to wait until this is finished. So I really started then in January 2019. And since we have had big success, so we doubled our revenues every year. Yeah, and again, thanks to the strong team which Pedro compiled. Yeah, so we are growing very, very fast. Yeah, and also that was part of the trigger for the acquisition, right? Which happened only a year later in February 2020, and the full acquisition was completed, I think, in June or July, which is record time, right? So yeah, that's my journey.
9 months. For any, we usually get a lot of clients, especially Nick, who are like, we have to wait 3 months in Germany because Jurgen, for those that don't know, is based in beautiful Germany, one of the fastest growing ecosystems within Europe for sure. And they think 3 months is a long time, but Jurgen waited 9 months. Imagine what was going through his mind. And I'm just trying to picture it, right? You're sitting with David Smyer. He's not pitching you, but telling you about the vision of Vlocity CPQ, a product that was unknown or quite new to the market, to where you are now. If it was a calculated risk, it definitely paid off. Pedro, I don't know if you can top that story on 9 months of waiting for joining a company, but tell us how you got into it.
No. Mine was, I was actually working down under in Australia, in another company, and pretty much I was competing against Vlocity back in the days. And the actual customer prospect reached out to me and said, "You need to work for Vlocity." And I was just like, "Why?" "No, you need to work for Vlocity. That's the future." And we're talking about, it was the, I can tell, the CTO, the chief business officer of a tier 1 telco telling me this. And I actually took it very serious. If people at this level are saying me this, it's because they know something. Right? And then from the moment they told me that to the moment that they even put me in contact, all of that, it was really fast. Like a month later, I was working for Vlocity, I think.
What a crazy opposite spectrum. A month, 9 months. But how did, so just when on the start, when did you and Jurgen start working together? Because obviously we've heard about the dangerous duo that you both are and the teams that you guys have built, but how did it come about? And when did you guys start actually collaborating to the point where you are now?
I can probably start. So I was Vlocity for what, a year and 9 months, something like that. And then I actually left.
Okay.
At Vlocity. I was like I usually say, I went to my summer vacation for 3 months in another company. And then that's when at that time Vlocity reached out again, and Jurgen actually interviewed me. Interviewed me for me to come back.
Jurgen, how was he? I know you probably can't say too much, but did you know Pedro was a killer in that interview in terms of sales? Like, this guy is going to be what he is now.
Well, look, I saw his potential, of course. Yeah, I haven't met him before, so but in the interview, it was clear that he will be my buddy for the future, and he can build a strong team for pre-sales, which he did. I mean, rock stars in both teams, and yeah. I'm very glad that we are working together since, and I think that was in 2019 still, right? Yeah.
2019, yes, exactly. So when I actually left Vlocity during those 3 months, there was like not a reorg, but there was a lot of people in and out. Well, Vlocity was very dynamic, right? And in those 3 months, when there was a new executive team coming on board, you were also like you coming on board, right? So I didn't met anyone. On the day I left on a Friday, and everyone started on a Monday in London. I remember that. I didn't met, and then it was someone reaching out to me through LinkedIn. "Hey, are you still friendly? You still want to talk?" I said, "Yeah, I am. I'm honest."
Pedro's like, I'm here, I'm waiting. It's crazy how things work out though, guys, right? Because we always talk about knowing the right people and having a good network, especially in tech and in Salesforce, where the community is very closed. People know each other all around the world. Like, if you follow Pedro on LinkedIn, from a certification training perspective, he's one of the ambassadors that is always posting about getting certified, training, developing. If you never had that tier 1 C-level director at the telco that you talked about, Pedro, mention Vlocity or even contemplate working for them, it's crazy. Like, you might not have been in that moment where you had the right opportunity, but the team you are today is obviously for us to. I think people are starting to know exactly what you guys are doing and what you're capable of. Nick, I know there was a lot of pressing questions, and there's probably going to be people that are like, shut up, Hemi. We had questions for these guys. We only get them once. So we're going to got to make it count.
Yes, so we did speak quite a lot about the past, but what about SFI progressing towards the future over time? Where do you guys see it going?
Yeah, so with David Schmeier being now appointed to the Chief Product Officer of all Salesforce, I see the industry focus getting more and more into our core products and the overall product strategy. So the future is industry specific. Yeah, that's very clear. And the trust and the success from the customers come from industry specific solutions. So with the Salesforce 360, I think we will domain the market in every industry, and we will become the de facto standard in customer interaction and experience management.
What Jurgen just said, I think we are becoming the standard. That's where I see, looking at the ecosystem, looking at how receptive customers are, prospects are. Okay. At the end of the day, saying this in a nice way, everyone wants to talk with us. Okay, and that shows how the market values our solution and our knowledge as well, right? So that's why we keep pushing for. Remember one thing: the company itself is very fast. It's a big company, but still very fast. We have 3 major releases a year. So for a big company having 3 major releases a year of software, we need to also be fast, right? And everyone in the ecosystem needs to be fast. What is the other company in our industry that ships 3 major releases a year?
Not many in tech, you know, and if you look at Salesforce's journey, we were speaking to someone in Paris yesterday, Pedro and Jurgen, and he had been in the ecosystem for many of years, like like you guys, you know, he came in quite early, and he was talking about some of the challenges, the fact that you've probably done too good of a job in what you've done in terms of customers. You know, I know that when we spoke last time, you're in the Middle East. You know, there's a lot of talk about APAC, you know, especially in areas like Africa where you're seeing major growth. But if you're watching this and you're new to SFI, we obviously know, or if you don't know, you're going to know that it's a career where you can accelerate your roadmap massively. You can make a lot of money. You can, you know, work with some of the best in the industry. What are the biggest challenges that you guys are seeing right now and for the next 2-3 years?
So look, because we are growing so fast, our partner ecosystem and the people who are implementing the software are somewhere behind. So the growth and the level of innovation we are bringing to the market is huge, and the speed is really fast. And the good news, I mean, if you look to the latest Gartner report on the telecommunications industry, they placed up right at the top end of the quadrant, right? So, and with that, we are growing even faster because all companies are by de facto, if they go into any type of new solution evaluation, we are de facto in that spot, yeah, in that process. And what we need to make sure is that we successfully deliver the projects for our customers. And therefore, we need people, yeah, and that is key. And the people needs to have the experience, the trainings, and everything which we provide via Trailhead, right? So that's currently my top of mind.
It is a challenge. So I would say the challenge is to actually get enough knowledge and skilled people. Okay. Because here you actually need industry knowledge with the platform knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So typically you, because we're talking about, in our industry, comms and media, we're talking about very complex industry with a lot of processes, with a lot of caveats, right? So whoever knows the industry and actually working in another solution, it is easy to come to the Salesforce ecosystem because they already know the industry, right? And this is one of our goals, is to actually bring people that know the industry more into the ecosystem, get them training. So training is all available for free. Get them the training, get them the skills they can, because hey, we're here to stay.
I think a good start, Pedro, is the Trailblazer book in the background. If people don't know what that is, definitely go onto Amazon or any online store. You'll see that Trailblazer book. I know Nick was talking about getting certified and actually starting Trailhead, so I think it's a great place to start.
So I can give you an example. Yesterday I did a session to an executive of one of our customers about Trailhead. The executive talking about a company that they're deploying Salesforce for more than 30,000 people. Okay, one of the executives wants to become a ranger.
That's amazing.
Okay, and I had a session with him just to explain him what is Trailhead. Okay, how can the courses, and then I actually created a specific trail mix for him. Okay, Trailhead has a lot of technical modules there, a lot of technical hands-on. Okay, but it has a lot of executive soft skills. I give this example a lot. We even have, you want to do a Cisco certification, you can actually also study for a Cisco certification in Trailhead. So you also have a lot of external content there. Okay, I love it.
And look, that's someone at sea level, right? So it shows people that it's not even a graduate or someone new into the ecosystem. You can be someone at that level and still want to understand it. And the beauty for Salesforce for me, and I think why Nick fell in love with it as well, is you don't have to come from a technical world in many places, right? You can go into roles that doesn't need you to develop code or understand things from such a complex perspective. And that's the beauty of Salesforce for me. The fact that it can open itself as an ecosystem to people from so many different backgrounds. And it's very rare that you get that in technology.
Yeah. Look, I compare this a little bit with the former, the older SAP times when people increased their market value by having some training of SAP. That's even more relevant if you come to Salesforce, because the market is much broader and the skills are much more relevant and much more looked after, right? So to create your own market value, yeah, go on Trailhead, train yourself, start now.
You heard it. You heard it from two guys who continue to learn. And once you stop learning, things become boring, right? So keep doing what you're doing. Nick, to end it off, I know that we couldn't get through every question, but anything left that the people wanted to know?
Yeah, on the topic of kind of starting with Trailhead, for anybody who's looking to get into SFI and Vlocity, what would you recommend, and any tips and tricks you can give to people?
Well, so Trailhead, I believe, is the first place to start. So we already have a couple of models there from specific to SFI. Okay, so Omni Studio is already there, CPQ is already there as well. Okay, and over time, we're actually migrating all of our content to Trailhead. Okay, so all the knowledge is going to be there sooner or later. Okay, certifications. Okay, I'm a big fan of certifications. Why? If I'm studying for something, if I want to get the knowledge, hey, I'll just do the exam. Certification proves my knowledge, right? Outside to the world. And it is something that we validate and we verify, and we encourage our partners to have certified people. Okay, at least they prove the bare minimum, that they know the platform, they know the solution, they are ready to go and implement. And looking at I know a lot of partners, so they're looking for people with industry skills and SFI skills. SFI skills, you prove them with certifications.
Good advice. Jurgen, for you, any great?
Yeah,
tips
go on
for people out there?
Website and look for industry solutions and Salesforce Industry for the communications or for the media part. Start looking into that. That's the starting point, and then what Pedro said. Yeah, do your exams. That is increasing your market value.
You heard it there, man. You heard it there, and I think Jurgen said it when we were off camera. It's a fast-moving train. It isn't stopping anytime soon, right, Jurgen? There's still a lot to do. You guys have closed some humongous deals, I heard recently, which we won't go into. We can't release too much, but that just shows that there's so much growth still. Look, the people also wanted to know who you guys are behind when you put the capes down, you take the mask off, you've done all the hard work, you wind down. Tech is a very fast-paced industry. There's no doubt. Like when I always see you both, you're always doing so much. You've got teams who you're responsible for and you empower and you're helping so much, and that keeps growing. For the people who are getting into tech, and especially those that find the work-life balance difficult, I wanted to ask you guys some personal quick-fire questions. Don't think, just speak. If you don't want to speak, you can just stay silent. But I think it's good for people to know more about you guys as people. So I'll start with you, Jurgen. Favorite food?
Favorite food? Italian food.
Nice. Good choice. Good choice. Pedro, favorite drink?
Gin and tonic, I would say.
Ooh, classy, classy. Jurgen, favorite destination in the world?
Rome.
Beautiful place, beautiful place. I feel this Italian trend coming along with Jurgen. He told me he was in Munich. I think he's in Rome. Pedro, favorite pastime when you're not doing all these things that you're doing in SFI? How do you wind down? How do you relax?
Strangely enough, I relax by doing training, by learning something new, doing an exam, strangely enough, that's the way I slow down.
You both don't stop. Like it's admirable. Like watching it, it's like I'm looking at it, feeling I need to go on trailhead right now. So anyone who's like, and I think, look, the one thing that I think we can end it on is there's a lot going on in the world. There's so much that we see in the media, the news every day. But I think the one thing that we can all probably relate on is that tech, getting into SFI, getting into Salesforce, it's not going to steer people wrong. It will always keep you busy. It will always keep you mentally busy, physically. You guys are always traveling the world. When I speak to Pedro, one day he's in Dubai, one day he's in Miami. Like and that's part of the job, right? If you think about, I was speaking to someone yesterday who's a graduate who, because of COVID, had never traveled. Think about that for a minute. Had never got on a plane. We take this stuff for granted, being a little bit older, apart from Nikki, who makes us all look a little bit older. But again, one area of the job that is amazing, right? You meet people from all around the world, you travel places, you meet customers, you engage people, you change their mindsets, and it benefits their business in a massive way where you can walk away and say, I did that. But on that note, I know you guys have more deals to close. There's more projects to deliver. I genuinely appreciate you guys massively, man. Like, big fans. I sound like a fanboy, but me and Nikki genuinely rate you guys as people. So honestly, thank you for joining us today. I think there's definitely going to be a part 2, part 3, part 4 somewhere. Maybe we'll do the next one in Miami or something, Pedro and Jurgen, or Rome. We'll definitely do the next podcast in Rome, Jurgen, over a slice of pizza and a glass of wine. But guys, have a great day. I hope everyone that watched enjoyed it. Nick, thank you as always for joining. I know you wanted to do this one for so long. Over and out. Peace.